My mother left me at Union Station in Chicago in front of what felt like half the city, then laughed when her best friend waved 5 crisp $100 bills in the air and said, I give her 3 hours before she calls the police crying. People actually clapped. Someone was recording. And I was 16 years old, standing beside a cracked blue suitcase with 12% battery on my phone, $11 in my pocket, and no idea yet that this wasn't just another one of my mother's jokes. If you've ever had a family member humiliate you in public and call it humor, you already know the worst part isn't the laughter. It's the way everyone looks at you like you're the problem for not laughing too. And before I go any further, where are you watching from? I always wonder how far these stories travel. My name is Ava, and by the time that happened, I had already spent most of my life being the easy daughter, the quiet one, the reasonable one, the one who didn't make scenes. My mother loved that about me. Or maybe she loved how useful it was. She was one of those women who could turn cruelty into entertainment if enough people were watching. Everything had to be a performance with her. She pulled pranks at birthdays, holidays, graduations, church picnics, anywhere there was an audience. She once gave me an empty jewelry box for Christmas in front of 20 relatives, then laughed so hard she cried when I looked confused. Relax, she told everyone. I'm teaching her not to be materialistic. Another time, she told my cousins I'd volunteered to sing at my aunt's engagement dinner, even though I begged her not to. I was 13. I stood there shaking through the first verse while my uncle recorded it, and everybody laughed because I was off-key and red-faced and trying not to cry. On the drive home, she said the same thing she always said. You're too sensitive, Ava. That's your real problem. My Aunt Denise agreed with everything my mother said. So did her friends. So did my older cousin Brianna, who treated my mother like she was the funniest woman alive. In that family, if my mother humiliated you, you were expected to thank her for making the room lively. And me? I learned to survive by going still. That Saturday, we were supposed to be coming back from my cousin's birthday lunch in the suburbs. My mother said we were taking the train into the city first because Denise wanted to show me something downtown. I should have known better. The second adults start speaking in cheerful, vague sentences around a child they don't respect, something bad is coming. Union Station was chaos when we got there. Announcements echoed off the high ceiling. Suitcases rolled over tile. Coffee cups, perfume, sweat, wet coats, the metallic scream of trains arriving somewhere below us. It felt like every sound in the building was bouncing inside my skull. I had my little blue suitcase because my mother had made me bring an overnight bag to my cousin's party. In case plans change, she said. Plans definitely changed. We stopped near a row of benches under the departure board. My mother adjusted her sunglasses and looked around with that bright, restless smile she got when she knew people were watching. Denise was beside her holding an iced coffee. Brianna already had her phone out. 2 of my mother's other friends were there too, which made no sense at the time. Then Denise reached into her purse and fanned out $500 bills. I remember every detail of that moment. The pale pink polish on her nails, the way one bill bent in the middle, the smell of cinnamon from the kiosk behind us, the tiny cold drop that slid down my back. What's that? I asked. My mother grinned at me like we were sharing a secret. It's just a joke, honey. Brianna snorted and aimed her phone straight at my face. Denise said, loud enough for people nearby to hear, let's see if she's actually smart. A man passing with a briefcase glanced over. A teenage couple slowed down. Somebody behind me laughed, thinking this was part of some family challenge. I looked at my mother. What are you talking about? She took my phone from my hand, checked the screen, and gave it back. 12%? That should be enough if you don't panic. My stomach dropped. Mom. Relax, she said. You know your address. Denise lifted the cash. 500 says she won't make it home by herself. Brianna said, I bet she cries in 10 minutes. And everybody laughed. I wish I could tell you I said something clever. I wish I could tell you I grabbed my suitcase and walked away like I already understood what kind of people they were. But the truth is, for one stupid second, I still thought there was a line they wouldn't cross. Then my mother leaned in, kissed the air beside my cheek so it looked affectionate on camera, and said softly, "Let's see what you do when nobody comes to rescue you." She turned around, and this time they all walked away with her. For a few seconds, I just stood there, staring at their backs as they disappeared into the crowd like nothing had happened. Like I was nothing. The noise of the station rushed back all at once. Announcements, footsteps, the screech of metal, and suddenly it felt too loud, too big. My chest tightened and I gripped the handle of my suitcase so hard my fingers started to hurt. This isn't real, I told myself. This is another joke. But that wasn't the worst part, because deep down something colder was already forming. I turned slowly in a full circle, searching for them. For my mom. For anyone who might suddenly jump out and say, "Got you?" But they were gone. Not hiding behind a pillar, not watching from a nearby bench. Gone. And that's when it hit me. They weren't joking. They were testing me. A sharp, ugly kind of clarity cut through the panic. My phone buzzed in my hand. I looked down, hoping, stupidly, that it was my mom saying to come find them. It wasn't. It was a message from Brianna. Timer starts now. Under it, a second message popped up. 3 hours, don't disappoint us. My stomach dropped even further. They were actually timing this. I looked up again, but now everything felt different. The station wasn't just loud, it was hostile. Every stranger suddenly felt like a potential threat. Every exit sign felt like a question I didn't know how to answer. I checked my phone again. 11%. No charger, no plan, no map in my head, just fragments. I knew the name of our street. I knew we lived somewhere outside the city. But I had never taken the train alone. Never needed to. My mother always drove or made someone else drive. Because control was her favorite game. I swallowed hard and pulled my suitcase closer. Okay. Okay, I whispered to myself. Think. No one was coming back for me, and for the first time in my life, I stopped waiting for someone to fix it. I walked toward a wall and leaned against it, trying to block out the noise enough to hear my own thoughts. My hands were shaking, but my brain was starting to shift. Fear was still there. But it was changing. Becoming sharper, colder. I opened my phone and turned off everything: Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, background apps, battery saver mode. Every percent mattered now. Then I opened maps. No signal, of course. Great, I muttered under my breath. I looked around again, scanning for something, anything useful. That's when I saw it. A small cafe tucked into the corner with a sign taped to the counter. Free Wi-Fi, customers only. I didn't have enough money to waste. $11 wasn't nothing, it was survival. But standing there doing nothing wasn't an option either, so I made a decision. I walked straight in, trying to look like I belonged, like I wasn't a kid who'd just been abandoned for entertainment. "Hi," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "Can I just get the cheapest thing you have?" The guy behind the counter barely looked at me. "Coffee. $3. Okay." I handed over the money and watched as he poured it into a paper cup like it meant nothing. To me, it was everything, because the second I got the receipt, I connected to the Wi-Fi. And suddenly the world opened back up. Maps loaded, routes appeared, options. I zoomed out, then in, trying to find my town. My hands moved fast now, my brain clicking into place piece by piece. Train lines, bus connections, walking distances. It wasn't impossible, it was just complicated and expensive. I checked ticket prices. Too high. Of course they were. I didn't have enough for a full trip. But maybe I didn't need the full trip. Maybe I just needed to get closer. Closer meant options. Closer meant control. I took a sip of the coffee. It was bitter and too hot, but it grounded me. "Okay," I whispered again, step by step. And that's when something shifted completely inside me. I wasn't the quiet girl anymore. I wasn't the one waiting to be told what to do. I was the one figuring it out. But that wasn't the worst part, because just as I started planning my way home, my phone buzzed again. Another message. This time, not from Brianna, from an unknown number. I hesitated, then opened it. It was a link. No text, no explanation, just a link. And I didn't realize it yet, but the second I tapped it, everything changed. The second I tapped the link, I wished I hadn't. It opened instantly. A live video. For a split second, I didn't understand what I was looking at. The camera was shaky, angled slightly downward, capturing a wide shot of Union Station. My stomach dropped because I recognized the angle. It was me, standing there earlier, frozen, confused, alone. I watched myself on the screen, small, out of place, gripping my suitcase like it was the only thing keeping me grounded. People walking past me, glancing, some slowing down, some laughing. My chest tightened as I realized something that made my skin crawl. They hadn't just left me. They had been filming me. My fingers went cold around the phone. Then I noticed the comments. They were scrolling fast. No way this is real. She looks like she's about to cry. $500 says she calls someone in 5 minutes. Wait, is this a challenge? This is so messed up. Keep filming. My heart started pounding harder. This wasn't just a family joke. This was content. And that wasn't the worst part. At the top of the screen, I saw the username. It was my mother's account. She wasn't just watching, she was streaming it. I felt something inside me crack, but it wasn't panic this time. It was something colder, sharper. They weren't just laughing, I whispered to myself. They were watching me. I backed up slowly until I hit the wall behind me, the noise of the cafe fading into the background. My eyes stayed locked on the screen as I watched the replay loop. Me standing there, abandoned like some kind of experiment. Like I wasn't a person. Like I was a challenge. My phone buzzed again. A new message. From my mom. Don't cheat. No asking strangers for money. I stared at it. Then at the comments again. Then back at the video. Something in my chest went completely still. I didn't cry. Not anymore. I locked my phone and slipped it into my pocket slowly. Very carefully. Like if I moved too fast, something inside me might shatter. But it didn't. Because in that moment, I changed. Up until now, I had been trying to survive. Now, I was paying attention. Every word, every detail, every face. Because if they wanted a show, I was going to remember everything. I picked up my coffee and forced myself to breathe normally. Inhale, exhale. Again. Again. Think. They said no asking strangers for money, which meant they were watching closely, which meant I had to be careful. Smart. I pulled my phone back out, lowered the brightness all the way, and opened the video again. But this time, I didn't focus on myself. I looked at everything else. The background, the angle, the movement. The reflection in a glass panel behind me, and that's when I saw it. A glimpse. Just for a second. A familiar shape. Someone standing further back, partially hidden behind a column, holding a phone. Filming. My breath caught. They hadn't left completely? They were still here. Watching in person. A chill ran down my spine, but instead of fear, it brought something else with it. Control. Because suddenly this wasn't random anymore. This was a setup. A controlled environment. A test with rules. Which meant it could be beaten. I stood up slowly, pulling my suitcase behind me. Okay, I whispered under my breath. You want to see what I'll do? A woman at the next table glanced at me, probably thinking I was talking to myself. Maybe I was. But for the first time, I didn't feel small. I walked out of the cafe and back into the chaos of the station. But now, I wasn't lost in it. I was moving through it. I kept my pace steady, not too fast, not too slow. I passed the benches where we had stood earlier. I didn't look around too obviously, but I scanned reflections, windows, metal surfaces, anything that could show me what was behind me without turning my head. And there it was again, the same figure, following at a distance. Phone raised, recording. A slow, quiet anger spread through me, not loud, not explosive, precise. They wanted reactions, panic, tears, failure. But that wasn't what they were going to get. Because now, I wasn't just trying to get home. I was learning the rules of their game. And I was going to play it better than they expected. But that wasn't the worst part. Because as I checked the route again and started moving toward the lower level platforms, I realized something that made my stomach twist. I wasn't just being watched, I was being guided. And I had no idea yet where they actually wanted me to go. The moment I realized I was being guided, not just watched, everything inside me went completely still. Not scared, not confused, focused. Because if this was a game, then it had a design. And if it had a design, it had an ending. I just didn't know yet if I was supposed to win it or fail publicly. I slowed my pace slightly as I moved toward the lower level platforms, pretending to check my phone like any normal person would. But really, I was thinking. Hard. They told me not to ask strangers for money. They were filming me live. Someone was following me. That meant one thing. They wanted control over the outcome. Because if I just got lucky, the challenge wouldn't be entertaining. And that's when it hit me. But that wasn't the worst part. They didn't just want me to get home. They wanted me to struggle, to panic, to almost fail. I stopped walking for a second, letting a group of people pass in front of me, then quietly stepped to the side near a vending machine. Think, Ava. Think like them. What would make this more fun for them? Time pressure, obstacles, watching me make mistakes. I pulled up the map again and stared at the route I had planned earlier. Train to bus to short walk. It was the fastest way. Too fast, too clean, too easy. I slowly exhaled. They're not going to let me take the easy way, I whispered. And right on cue, my phone buzzed. Another message. From my mom. Wrong direction. My chest tightened. I hadn't even bought a ticket yet, which meant they were reacting in real time, watching every move, adjusting, controlling. I looked up slowly, scanning reflections again. And there, just for a second, I caught it. Brianna, half hidden behind a pillar on the upper level, phone pointed down at me. Smiling. My fingers curled slightly around the handle of my suitcase. So that's how it was going to be. Okay. Fine. I lowered my gaze again and forced my expression to stay neutral. Confused. Uncertain. Let them think I was still playing their role. Then I turned around, not toward the fastest route, but toward the ticket machines. Because if they were watching my direction, they weren't watching my thinking. Not yet. I stepped up to the machine and stared at the screen like I had no idea what I was doing. In reality, I was calculating. I didn't have enough money for a full ride home, but I didn't need home. Not immediately. I needed distance. I needed unpredictability. I needed to break their control. So instead of selecting my actual destination, I picked a stop halfway. A random one. Somewhere they wouldn't expect. My heart was pounding again, but this time it felt different. Not fear. Strategy. I paid, printed the ticket, and slipped it into my pocket. Then I hesitated on purpose, letting time pass, letting them think I was second-guessing. My phone buzzed again. Tick-tock. I almost smiled. Almost. But I kept my face blank and walked slowly toward the platform. The train arrived with a metallic scream, doors sliding open as people rushed in and out. I blended into the crowd, pulling my suitcase behind me, keeping my head down. And just before I stepped inside, I glanced back. Just once. And I saw her, Brianna, still filming, still smiling, still thinking she knew exactly what I was going to do. I stepped onto the train, the doors closed, and for the first time since this started, I was out of their immediate reach. I sat down by the window, gripping my phone as the train began to move. My reflection stared back at me in the glass. Same face, same girl. But something behind my eyes had changed. I opened the live stream again. The comments were going crazy. Wait, she got on a train? No way she's actually doing it. This just got interesting. Mom's real quiet now. My stomach twisted slightly. Good. Let them be confused. But that wasn't the worst part. Because as the train picked up speed and the station disappeared behind me, my phone buzzed again. One more message. From my mom. This time. No emojis. No jokes. Just one sentence. You really think you're in control right now? I stared at the screen. And for the first time since I stepped on that train, a small, sharp chill ran through me. Because something in the way she said it wasn't playful anymore. And I had a feeling. The real part of this game hadn't even started yet. I didn't answer her message. I just stared at it as the train carried me further away from the station, and from the version of myself they thought they knew. You really think you're in control right now? At 16, I didn't have all the answers. But I understood one thing very clearly in that moment. Control isn't about knowing everything. It's about deciding what you refuse to be. And I refused to be their joke anymore. I got off 3 stops later. Not because it was closer to home, because it was unpredictable. The station was smaller, quieter. No cameras pointed at me, at least none I could see. No familiar faces hiding behind pillars. For the first time since this started, I was alone. Actually alone. I stepped outside and inhaled deeply. The air felt different, cooler, real. My phone was at 5%. I used it carefully, maps, directions, bus routes. Piece by piece, I built a path. Walk 18 minutes to bus 47 to transfer to walk again. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't easy, but it was mine. And that wasn't the worst part. Because even as I walked those streets, dragging my suitcase over cracked sidewalks, I could feel it in my chest. I wasn't just trying to get home anymore. I was remembering everything. Every laugh, every message, every face behind those phones. I got home after dark. 9 hours later, exhausted, blisters on my feet, phone completely dead. And as I stepped onto our street, I heard it. Laughter, music, clapping. My house was lit up like there was a party inside. My grip tightened on the suitcase handle. Of course, they turned it into a celebration. I walked up the driveway slowly and opened the door. The moment I stepped inside, oh my God, she actually made it! Applause exploded around me. My mother stood in the living room, phone in hand, surrounded by relatives and friends. Denise was there. Brianna too. Recording. Always recording. That was hilarious, someone said. I can't believe she didn't quit. Another laughed. My mom walked toward me, smiling like she was proud, like this was some kind of achievement. You did it, honey, she said. See? I knew you had it in you. I looked at her, really looked at her, and for the first time in my life, I saw her clearly. Not as my mother, not as someone I needed to please, but as someone who needed an audience more than she needed a daughter. I didn't say anything. I just walked past her, upstairs, closed my door, and sat on the floor in silence. Because something had already changed, and they didn't realize it yet. That night, I didn't cry. I opened my old laptop instead, and I started writing. Dates, times, messages, screenshots, usernames, everything. I found the live stream later, saved it, downloaded it, backed it up. Because if they wanted a show, I was going to remember every second of it. Years passed. I left that house at 18, got a job, then another, then better ones. I learned fast. I stayed quiet. I stayed distant. And I built a life where I didn't need anyone who thought humiliation was love. My mom? She kept growing online. Her pranks got bigger. More followers, more views, more sponsors. A whole brand built on family humor. And me? They thought I forgot. I didn't. When I was 24, I found the video again. Not just mine, all of them. Archived, edited, monetized. My humiliation had ads on it. That was the moment I stopped waiting. My mother hit 1 million followers the year she turned 50. She threw a huge party, invited everyone, family, friends, influencers, a celebration of her journey. And for the first time in years, she invited me too. I showed up. Of course I did. Because this time, I had something to bring. The party was loud, bright, cameras everywhere. Perfect. I stood near the back at first, watching, listening, smiling just enough to not raise suspicion. And when my mom stepped onto the stage to thank everyone, that's when I moved. I walked over to the AV setup, plugged in my drive, and hit play. At first, no one noticed. Just another video on the screen behind her. Then the image sharpened. Union Station. A 16-year-old girl, holding a suitcase, looking lost, alone. The room went quiet. My mom froze. Denise stopped smiling. Brianna lowered her phone. The comments started appearing on screen. Because I didn't just show the video. I showed everything. The bets, the messages, the timestamps, the truth. They weren't just laughing. I stepped forward, my voice calm. They were watching. All eyes turned to me. My mom's face twisted. Ava, what are you doing? It was a joke. I shook my head. No, I said softly. It was content. Silence. Heavy. Uncomfortable. Unavoidable. I took a breath. You wanted to see if I could find my way home. I looked straight at her. I just found my way out of this family. She tried to speak again, to laugh it off, to twist it. But it didn't work this time. Because now, everyone was watching her. And for once, she wasn't in control of the story. I didn't stay. I didn't argue. I didn't yell. I just walked out. Quietly. The same way I learned to survive. But this time, it wasn't survival. It was freedom. And the strange part? I wasn't angry anymore, just done. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't destroying someone. It's showing the truth and walking away without needing anything from them again. A week after the party, the video was everywhere. Not the edited version my mother had posted years ago. The real one. Mine, with context, with timestamps, with the bets. With her messages telling me not to cheat. With the comments from strangers who thought a scared 16-year-old girl was entertainment. People didn't laugh this time. They paused. They rewound. They asked questions. And that wasn't the worst part. Because the same audience she had built for years, the one that used to cheer her on, was now turning on her. This isn't funny. She was a kid. This is abuse. You left your daughter alone in a train station for views? Sponsors disappeared first. Quietly, then publicly. Comments got disabled, then reopened, then flooded again. Apologies were posted, deleted, rewritten. It was taken out of context. It was a different time. She agreed to it. That last one almost made me laugh because we both knew the truth. I never agreed to anything. She called me 3 times. I didn't answer. Then she texted, "You've made your point. Can we talk?" I looked at the message for a long time and felt nothing. No anger, no satisfaction, just distance. So I replied with one sentence. You had your audience. You didn't need a daughter. Then I blocked her. A month later, her channel was gone. Not deleted. Just Irrelevant. Because without control of the narrative, she had nothing left to perform. And me? I kept going. Built my own life. Quiet. Stable. Real. No cameras. No jokes. No one waiting for me to fail for entertainment. Sometimes people ask me if I regret exposing her, if I feel guilty, if I miss my family. And I always give the same answer. I didn't ruin anything. I just showed what was already there. And the girl at the train station? The one with 12% battery and $11? She didn't just find her way home, she found her way out. And this time, no one was watching.